Noah's Mystery by Turnstile, and as well as Shock Me by Red House Painters. That was a cover of the Kiss song, also titled Shock Me. That comes from their 1994 EP, Shock Me, released on 4AD Records. Good afternoon, listeners of Coffee Noise. I'm your host, DJ Marlin, and if you can't believe it, it's Tuesday once again. How are we doing out there, listeners? Today it is. Let me check the not calculator, calendar. Today is the 20th of February, 2024. That's kind of cool, I guess. So let's take a quick look at the weather for today. Right now we have a high of 82 degrees. Fahrenheit, obviously, in the city of Edinburgh with a low of 53 degrees. Rest of the week, we're looking at a pretty good temperature. We're looking at around the mid to high. Let's see. No, we're looking at low to mid 80s as well as mid to high 70s. I cannot speak correctly. I don't know why. Maybe because all I've had for lunch today was one of those instant cup ramen noodles. I mean, they're not bad, but it's also like good. It's not good also, which is, I mean, it is my fault mainly because like I didn't make anything for I didn't make any what's the word? I didn't make any lunch today. So that was the only thing I had to bring. It was like, you know what? I'll use a coffee maker for hot water and that'll work out for me. Was it good? I mean, yeah. It was decent. You could say that. Would I recommend anyone eating like that? No, I would actually recommend you in getting something better. I mean, pasta. Pasta's pretty good. I've been liking that kind of recently. Why am I talking about food? I don't know. Speaking of pasta, fettuccine. We're just gonna spit some words out. Whatever lands will land. Do, 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 do. Actually, I'll do that in the next break. Let's see. Anything that happened to me over the weekend? Well, I'm reading close to around 130 pages a week because of my classes. Most of them being my philosophy courses, but also my psychology course. That one has its own book with it. Um, it's a lot of reading, yes, but yeah, there really is nothing much to say about it. It just is a lot of reading. Do I hate it? No, I really do like reading. Um, is it difficult? The psychology, no, because psychology I'm pretty well versed in that. Philosophy, it is. Um, let's see here. Next week, I have to read Kierkegaard, and he's like one of those early existentialist philosophers. Well, existentialism wasn't coined, but he's one of many would put him under the category of existentialism. Is he a difficult philosopher to read? No, he's far more easier to understand than Kant, but they're very different in philosophies. Well, actually, no. It's more on writing. Anyway, let's get to the next track right now. We're gonna throw it back with some Duster What Stars Will Fall. Alright, let's get into it. And that was Salamia by Kevin and the Bikes from their album Ironic Songs. They kind of start off as one of those what's the word? One of those meme bands, I think that would be the word, like a joke band. They're like their whole shtick was like, oh, we're a band that plays in the same universe as Ed, Ed and Eddie. Have y'all watched that show growing up? I never really watched that show. I was watching like Nick Jr. because I went to speech therapy, so it was like Blue's Clues. What else was it? Dora the Explorer. Go Diego Go. That was when I was growing up. I didn't really watch Cartoon Network growing up. But yeah, I was horrible at speaking as a child. Well, not really horrible. It's more like I grew up learning around English and Spanish about like a year apart, a year or two apart. But the thing is, I got them mixed up very often. So my therapist, speech therapist, basically said I was speaking in what he would say as fluent Spanglish. I was basically speaking nonsense, which looking back on it, I'm surprised. Like, oh wow, I actually didn't know what I was saying half the time. That's kind of not cool because like I need to know what I'm saying. Or not that was like no one could understand what I was saying. A part of that thinks that's kind of cool, you know, not knowing what someone else is saying. But not really because then I can't convey any ideas, and then that wouldn't help out for my major because well, I'm a double major, but the one thing I'm really focusing on is the philosophy aspect. So yeah. Speaking of philosophy, I'm doing the P-Wall thing. I'm like one of those peer dialogue leaders. Tomorrow, I am talking to the students about two concepts: free will and existentialism, as I said earlier. Free will is one of those interesting topics. I personally do not subscribe to the idea. I don't think we do have free will. There's a lot of arguments why. I mean, there's some arguments for the existence of free will, but none of them really stuck. None of them really make sense in a rational sense. I think determinism makes far more sense. And that's not to say that oh, your life is inherently meaningless. That I also do subscribe to the idea that life in itself is inherently meaningless. But those things I want to say those things are in the same category. Um, yes, we may live in a deterministic universe, but that does not take away from the fact that we are still human beings. We can still experience emotions and ideas and such like that. It's just that it's not fully within our freedom. You know, that sense of freedom, that choice we really have, it's not really real. It's an illusion. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you were to tell me that beforehand, I looked into philosophy, I would think, well, that's kind of pessimistic. And to a point, I guess you could say pessimistic. I don't see it as pessimistic anymore. I kind of see it as interesting. I don't know how I would describe it personally. Definitely not pessimistic, but also not optimistic. Also, hmm. I would actually have to think about that in the future. And then we're also going to talk about the idea of existentialism. And my students, I'm going to show them like a clips from a film. It's like 2001. It's a film from 2001. Waking Life. It's an amazing film. If you ever had the chance to watch it, definitely check it out. It's one of those weird, trippy films that deal with the idea of philosophy and dreams. And oh my goodness, it's such a good film. And the soundtrack is amazing. Let's get into the next track right now. Here is Planning for Burial with Somewhere in the Evening. All right, listeners, and we are back. It is 2:30 in the afternoon. We're coming back from the second half hour. Let's talk about what's popular on Letterboxd this week for talking about movies. The main movie that everyone's been talking about, obviously for the wrong reason, because it is a horrible film, is the new film, I think it was released by Sony, Madam Web. Um, Sometimes you wonder who pitched this idea and how did it even get through. I'm not even gonna go watch the film. I'm not even gonna pay for it. I'm probably gonna like pirate the film. But like the clips I'm seeing online, it's like this is low. This is really low. I mean, I already don't care for superhero movies because I think it's just mindless junk. But like, wow, this looks horrible. This is not even something I'd see like on like community TV, like free over the air TV. This is a legit like box want to be a box what's the word, I don't know, a blockbuster film. It's horrible. Like I really can't wrap my head against like why did they think, and they try to like, oh, we're gonna tie this into like the MCU. Honestly, I'm so done with the MCU. I could honestly care less. I could seriously care less about Marvel movies. One, I think it's just corporate garbage. There's nothing interesting or valuable to take out of it. um So like the worst things I hate in film: need mindless superhero movies, the Marvel universe, that film Ready Player One because I just hate the meaning of the film. What's another thing that I don't like in films? Uh, what's their names? There's someone that there's a director that just makes like horrible films constantly. Um, I don't really hate actors that much. No, I really don't. I only hate actors like when they go from one thing into a different thing. Like, yeah, he may be a comedian on like a sketch show, but when it comes to like an actual movie, it really doesn't come out that good. It comes out kind of like, wow, you should not act in film. Like, just stick with like comedy sketch because the film it's not really working out for you. And yeah, but yeah, the Madam Web, uh, yeah, the reviews online. It's just funny to read them, especially the Wikipedia synopsis, because nothing makes sense. It really doesn't. What's another film people been talking about? Anyone But You. I really don't care for that film. Iron Claw. I've still yet to see that film. I want to see it. I just haven't gone to the movie theaters in a while. I've been meaning to watch Past Lives. I know it's on streaming right now, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. I really do want to see The Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer film. I mean, it came out last year, but yeah, I just haven't got around to watching it, and that's definitely going to go on like my watch list. Probably sometime either by the end of this month or definitely in March. I'll watch that film. I've been meaning to watch The Holdovers. I know my friend loves that film, so I'm definitely gonna check that out. And let's see, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I know it's on Criterion Channel, and I'm definitely gonna check that out probably this weekend. Anyway, let's go into the next track. This is Standing on the Corner. And that was Boards of Canada with the track Roy G. Biv from their album Music Has the Right to Children, if I'm correct. Let me just double check there because I am horrible at actually remembering names. My students will know that, actually. Yes, Music Has a Right to Children from 1998. I'm going to turn 21 in a few weeks, and I've been thinking about that. Like, what exactly do I do now as a 21-year-old? I mean, I could vote, but like, I could do that since 18. Even then, I don't care for voting, to be honest, but that's my personal thing. Um, I don't drink really. I don't. I'm not. I'm not straight edge. I just don't care for it. Wow, nothing really when I'm 21. I mean, I guess I could have the different above 21 license or ID, whatever you have. But besides that, nothing really. Some people like to think about it a lot. I'm not really that kind of person. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. Being 21 will be kind of cool since I'll be in around 4 or 5 weeks, I think. But nothing really. Hmm. Even then, on that day, I'm gonna be having class. I'll be having my P-Wall students. So even then, like my afternoon class from 5 to 7:30, I guess I might watch a film. Yeah, I might do that. On like Thursday, I won't be doing anything really because I'm at school all day. But Friday, might just go into a movie theater, just like watch a film or so. Just relax. Yeah, I actually should. I actually should look into doing that. Just like not doing anything. That's kind of a. It's kind of a thing now. Yeah, people get so overworked. It's like, no, you need to like. It's alright coming down, here and there. Obviously, don't just be a lazy slob, but there's nothing wrong. It's like, hey, I can't do anything today, or just even if you don't go to the movie theater, at least stay at home, do a hobby, read. I mean, those are good hobbies to have. I mean, I guess you could say it is a hobby, but just do something you enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Why am I becoming like some quasi or pseudo motivational speaker? I'm a philosopher. I don't believe in that stuff. Um, would I consider myself a philosopher if I'm studying it? The egotistical side of me wants to, but the more rational side of me says no because that's like really pretentious. But as you know, listeners, I am already kind of pretentious when it comes to reviewing music. I will have to think about that. Would I consider myself as a philosopher? No, I don't think. I'd rather be called maybe a student of philosophy because, like, what exactly what is the end goal of being a philosopher? Exactly. I mean, yeah, you could say, well, doctors in the medical field. Well, the end goal is like well, they can treat people or perform surgeries or such. Philosophy means it's just a lot of learning, really. Um, yeah, I love my study of philosophy. I just really hate people who think metaphysics is another thing of Marvel. Brings me back to why I hate Marvel in general. Also, people who like take their philosophy from Rick and Morty. I'm sorry, if you're over the age of 20 and you're still watching Rick and Morty, I would hope you have a job. I would hope that you're not just some lazy slob. Because I've met people like that. I've have. It's not a pretty sight, I'll tell you that much. So, yeah. Am I a hater? Uh, yeah, I guess you could say that. Anyway, this is going to the last track for today. I decided to go for a bit more an ambient track, so this is Even If You're Never Awake by Stars of the Lid. Alright, listeners, and we're back, and that last track was Stars of the Lid from their album. I can't remember what year it was. From the album, and Refinement of the Decline. It's one of those very long ambient records I liked, around like 2.5 hours, the entire record. I listen to it a lot often, either when I'm trying to sleep or when I'm trying to, what's the word, study. It's a very calming album, would highly recommend that album in general. Let's see, final words. As always, this week's playlist will be available on Apple Music and Spotify. You can follow me on Instagram at Watford2003. And my final thoughts: blueberry pancakes are pretty good, and I should try to make them. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me, but remember, you're tuned into Vaquero Radio, the Valley's only student station. Alright, I'll see you next week. Bye bye.